welcome everyone also from my side to this first ELN Stammtisch. I think this is really an exciting topic and very important for us also, but also for the whole community. This is about our, the initiative that we've been following since October to build a national research data infrastructure for chemistry in Germany. The context is that the federal government and the individual states of Germany have decided to fund a general national research data infrastructure, not only for chemistry, but for all areas of science. And eventually, after 3 years, 30 consortia will be working in their particular area. This is chemistry, biology, medicine, but also humanities, social sciences, you name it. It's supposed to cover science as broadly as possible. For 5 years and then another 5 years, they will be pumping 85 million per year into building this infrastructure, which is quite substantial, and it's actually written in the agreement that we will be doing this for 10 years, but there is already a commitment for perpetuated funding of the NFDI, because I think politics has realized that we can't go through the usual peak cycles of 3-year funding. In this case, we need something more sustainable. We were among the first 9 consortia to be successful to get funding to build, in our case, an infrastructure for chemistry. Chemistry, I mean, I guess you're all chemists, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Consists of many different areas, which makes it quite an interesting field in terms of data management. But I guess this is almost true for any kind of science. We have pledged to work on the areas that deal with molecular data in the broadest sense, because there are also consortia, for example, who deal with materials chemistry. And we have to draw a line at some point. So molecular data, their properties is what we are interested in. We cover, as a consortium, a really broad range of universities, extra university research institutions, and also learned societies like the German Chemical Society, Bunsengesellschaft, and others. And also we have institutions who are working particularly in the area of information management, such as the German National Library, TIB, Technische Informationsbibliothek, Fitz-Karlsruhe is particularly dealing with information, and so on and so forth. This is basically the hook to what this Stammtisch is about, and B, what is one of the core areas of NFDI4Chem. You all know that in our traditional laboratory environments, even today at universities, people are writing into those paper notebooks. And that is one of the problematic parts when it comes to data sharing later. You've seen here that over almost 100 years, not much has changed. Here, 1927, a laboratory notebook from the Kaiser Wilhelm Gesellschaft, and then 2019. It's basically the same. And on the other side, if you look at the top, technology moves at an incredible speed, really. And we just need to bring the way in which we manage data in chemistry to the 21st century. Of course, we do capture data in a digital form also. Here on the right side, you see our analytical machines. But whenever we do this, the management is really in quite an improvised way. And in particular, when we then and the collection is done in very disorganized ways on hard disks, shared drives, maybe thumb drives, and so on. And when we then publish this information in journals, we destroy a lot of information. We convert it to pictures, which we put as PDFs into supporting information. That's a bit of a disaster, more than a bit of a disaster, actually. So this is why NFDI4Chem has the division of a complete digitalization of chemistry, which starts with the electronic lab notebooks as an important part. This also includes, of course, the fact that we need to agree as a community, and not only as a national, but as an international community, to have data standards in which we publish our data, otherwise nobody can reuse it. And if we don't bring the whole community on board, it will also be a futile endeavor. You've all heard the acronym FAIR by now, I assume. FAIR stands for data being findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And that is really what the data collection is all about. It's not a purpose in itself. We have to be able to reuse data from others, even by not contacting them, just taking the data, it should be possible to reuse them. This vision here, of course, then translates into quite an elaborate work program, which we are going to pursue in the next 5 years. In an initial step, that we call the Smart Lab Vision, we aim to capture data from electronic lab notebooks, but also from devices in a well-annotated form, so that it can be easily shared. And if this vision alone becomes true in all chemistry laboratories, a lot of our problems will be solved. Because at the moment, the situation is that a poor PhD student or postdoc wakes up at some point and gets told by his supervisor to now wrap up all the data of an experiment or a publication and post it to an international repository. And then suddenly you realize, oh my God, it's everywhere. It's partly written in paper. I have to type it all up again. And that is, of course, the point where the person probably stops doing it, or the supervisor even doesn't tell it because he or she knows that it's going to be a disaster. So if Smart Lab becomes a reality, it will be a big step forward. Once data are well annotated in the Smart Lab, they can be easily shared upon a click of a button in repositories. And from there, they can be reused. And you can imagine that all of this is not possible without proper standards, legal policies, and terminologies. A lot of software needs to be developed and integrated. A lot of software already exists to make this vision reality. And if you build such an infrastructure, you also need a very good documentation, knowledge base, teaching, ability to search across all services, help desk support, everything nicely integrated in a portal. An important aspect of the NFDI is that we do not do this alone. First of all, we are embedded into this big process of the NFDI, which has an umbrella directorate and eventually 30 consortia, many of them working in the same areas. You probably can imagine that data standards and open formats, digital lab environments, ontologies, and so on, legal aspects, searching, this is the same technology across all consortia, and we want to avoid that all consortia have to reinvent the wheel. Yeah. So NFDI, to wrap up, this is the last slide, is organized in 6 task areas. We have 27 participating institutions, a lot of funding and manpower to realize the work program that I've just sketched, which is broken down into overall 30 measures in all of these areas that are kind of wrapping up bigger tasks to do. It's all broken down in almost 100 tasks and an equal number of deliverables, which can be nicely measured. And I think if we are successful, we are really going to enter a better area for chemistry. Other parts of science are ahead of us, other parts are behind us. We'll see in 5 years how successful we are. Thank you very much.